She never thought stepping out of a doctor's office would turn her life upside down. But there he was, the billionaire she once loved, staring at her 7-month pregnant belly like the ground had just opened under him. His voice cracked as he said the only word that mattered. "Deona," he whispered. Her breath caught. She had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her head, what she'd say if she ever saw him again. But now, with his blue eyes locked on hers and her heart pounding in her ears, every word vanished. She swallowed hard, her hand instinctively coming to rest on her rounded belly. "William." For a few seconds, neither of them moved. "You're pregnant." The words sounded like they cost him something. Deona wanted to be angry. She wanted to be cold, to tell him it was none of his business. But when she met his eyes, the same piercing blue eyes that had haunted her dreams, she saw shock, pain, and something she didn't dare name. "Yes," she said softly. He stepped forward, almost as if he was afraid she might vanish again. "Is it?" "Yes." Her voice cracked. His jaw tightened. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you made it clear we were just a deal," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Because your mother threatened my family. Because I was terrified of what she'd do if she knew I was carrying your child. Because I was so tired of fighting for someone who wouldn't fight for me." William's face drained of color. What? Deona's composure broke. Months of fear and silence came pouring out. She told him about Jane's offer, the threats, the break-ins, the night Miguel fought off the intruder. She told him how she packed in the middle of the night, moved her entire family across the country, and started over. By the time she finished, her cheeks were wet with tears. William's hands were shaking. "My God, Deona, I had no idea." "If I had known." "You wouldn't have believed me," she cut in bitterly. "You were too busy being practical. Too busy reminding me this was all just an arrangement." He flinched, but he didn't argue. Instead, he took a deep breath, stepped closer, and dropped his voice. "Come with me," he said gently. "Let's not talk here. Please, just give me a chance to explain." For a moment, she hesitated. But something in his voice, the quiet desperation, made her nod. Later, at the hotel, when they sat across from each other in the dimly lit suite, the words spilt out of him. "I was wrong, Deona," William said, raking a hand through his hair. "I was so scared of losing control that I pretended I didn't care. But I did. I do. I've been looking for you for months. My father, he isn't even dying. He just wanted me to stop running from love. He was the one who told me to find you." Deona stared at him, her heart pounding. "You loved me?" He gave a rough laugh. "I still do." Silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken things. Finally, William dropped to his knees in front of her and rested his palm gently on her belly. "Please," he whispered, "let me be here this time. For you, for our child. Would you forgive a man who broke your heart if he showed up right when you needed him least?" Hey, wonderful friends. Welcome to Blossom Stories. We're grateful to have you here. Share where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next story that will touch your heart. Special shout-out time. Big love to Monica Steele from Maypen, Jamaica. To the one and only superstar from Jamaica, you rock. To Jacqueline Levy from Santa Cruz, Jamaica, thank you for your support. To the FSHG Ministry, sending blessings your way. And to Paulette Thomas from Jamaica, thank you for always tuning in. We see you, we appreciate you, and we love having you as part of this family. Now let's dive into our story. 8 months earlier, Deona Martinez was a girl with nothing left to lose. At 21, she had traded college lectures for double shifts, traded nights out with friends for late-night laundry, traded her dreams for survival. With 3 younger siblings depending on her and a mother battling stage 3 cancer, Deona's shoulders carried the weight of an entire family. Le Jardin was supposed to change that. The most exclusive restaurant in New York. Tips big enough to cover rent, steady paychecks to keep the lights on. Until the orange juice. It spilled in a golden arc, splashing across the Italian marble floor and down the expensive suit of the most intimidating man she had ever seen. William Hayes. "Relax," he murmured, and somehow his deep, calm voice made her heart beat faster. The restaurant went silent. Her boss Henri's face turned crimson. "You're finished," he hissed, firing her on the spot in front of everyone. Humiliated, heartbroken, and terrified about how she would pay her mother's medical bills, she stumbled out into the snowy night. Deona sat on the cold steps outside Le Jardin, hugging her coat tighter around her thin frame. Snow flurries clung to her dark curls. She had been sitting there for an hour, numb, staring at the crumpled termination notice in her hands. She heard footsteps before she saw him. "You're still here." Her head snapped up. William Hayes stood there, the man she'd drenched in orange juice less than 24 hours ago. His charcoal coat was tailored, his expression unreadable. "What are you doing here?" she asked, hastily swiping at her tears. He glanced at the paper in her hands. "You were fired?" Her laugh was short and bitter. "Of course I was fired. Who keeps a waitress who dumps orange juice on a billionaire?" Something in his jaw tightened. "That wasn't your fault." "Henri is an idiot." Her brows shot up. "Easy for you to say. You probably own half this block. I needed that job." He hesitated, then sat down next to her on the step, ignoring the snow. "Then tell me why you needed it so badly." Deona pressed her lips together. "Why do you care?" "Because I don't like ruining people's lives." His tone was matter-of-fact, not pitying. That was what made her break. "My mom is sick," she said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "Stage 3 ovarian cancer. My dad died last year, so it's just me. I've got 3 younger siblings, 16, 14, and 9, and I'm barely holding us together. That job was supposed to pay for my mom's next round of treatment. I don't know what I'm going to do now." William didn't speak right away. He looked out at the busy Manhattan street, his expression shifting from neutral to something sharper, thoughtful, calculating. "What's your name?" he asked. "Deona." "Deona," he repeated as if testing the sound. "What would you say if I told you I could fix all of that? The medical bills, the rent, everything." She frowned. "I'd say you're either lying or you're crazy." His mouth curved into the faintest smile. Maybe a little of both. When she didn't respond, he turned toward her fully. "I need a fiancé. A fake one, for 6 months. You'd be paid, generously. And when it's over, you walk away with enough money to take care of your family for years." Deona blinked. "You... what? Why would you even need something like that?" William's gaze turned serious. "Because my father is dying, and the only thing he wants before he goes is to see me settled down. I have a merger coming up that depends on keeping him calm and happy. This is business, but you could benefit too." "This is insane," she said, shaking her head. "You don't even know me." "I know you're desperate enough to cry in the snow instead of going home," he said quietly. "I know you work hard enough to support 3 siblings. And I know you'd do anything to save your mother. That's enough." Deona stared at him, her heart hammering. Everything about this screamed trouble. But there was something in his eyes, something steady and oddly gentle, that made her pause. "You're serious," she whispered. "Completely." Deona hesitated for a long time before whispering, "What exactly would I have to do?" 2 days later, Deona stood in front of a full-length mirror as a stylist pinned the hem of a designer gown. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. William leaned casually against the doorway, his tie loosened after a day of meetings. "You look perfect." Deona shot him a glare. "I look like I'm playing dress-up. What fork do I even use at those ridiculous dinners?" "That's what the etiquette lessons are for." She turned, hands on her hips. "This isn't me." "I'm a waitress, William. I eat standing up most nights." "Not anymore," he said quietly. She hesitated. For the first time, she heard something in his voice. Not just authority, but something gentler, almost protective. "You're asking me to become someone else?" she whispered. "No," he said, stepping closer. "I'm asking you to let the world see what I see." Her throat went tight. "And what exactly do you see?" He held her gaze for a long moment before saying softly, "Someone who deserves better than crying on a freezing sidewalk." Weeks later, after a gala where Deona had been paraded in front of investors like a trophy, she stormed out of the ballroom. William followed her into the garden. "Deona, don't." She whirled around, her eyes flashing. "I smiled until my face hurt. I let strangers touch my arm, ask me invasive questions, act like they own me because you do, and you didn't even notice." His jaw clenched. "This is what you agreed to." "No. What I agreed to was pretending to be your fiancé, not being humiliated like some trained pet." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You think this is easy for me? You think I like dragging you into this world?" "Then why did you?" she shot back. "Because I didn't know how much I'd care about what they said about you." His words came out harsh, unguarded, as if they had been locked in his chest too long. The anger drained out of her. "You care?" He stared at her for a long moment, breathing hard, then turned away. "Go inside, Deona. It's freezing out here." But as she walked past him, her shoulder brushed his arm, and neither of them moved away. Somewhere among the fittings, glittering gala, charity dinners, photographs on the front page of glossy magazines, and the endless smiling, something shifted. He made her laugh. She caught him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. One night she found him sitting at her mother's kitchen table, helping Miguel with his algebra homework. Carried her mother's groceries into the apartment without being asked. And then came the night of the charity gala, when she accidentally wandered into his bedroom instead of the guest room. Exhausted, she collapsed on the bed. When she woke, his arms were around her, his breath warm against her neck. "William," she whispered. He froze, immediately pulling back. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "Don't," she said softly, turning toward him. "Deona, this isn't part of the deal." "I don't care about the deal," she whispered. "I care about you." Something in his expression cracked, and then he kissed her. It was slow, tentative at first, as if he was giving her a chance to pull away. But she didn't. That night changed everything. Deona woke in William's bed alone. For a moment, warmth lingered where he had been lying, but then she saw the note on the pillow. "This can't happen again." Her throat tightened. Later that morning, she confronted him in the study. "You don't get to pretend that didn't happen," she said quietly. William didn't look up from the papers on his desk. It was a mistake. Her hands clenched at her sides. "A mistake? Is that what you think I am?" His head snapped up, his blue eyes suddenly blazing. "You think this is easy for me? I have a company to run, a father to keep alive, a mother watching my every move, and now you've made it clear where I stand," she said bitterly. "Good to know, William. Thank you for reminding me this is just business." She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. "Deona." Something in his tone made her pause. "I didn't say I didn't want you," he said quietly. I said I can't have you. There's a difference. Her breath caught, but she forced herself to walk away before he saw the tears in her eyes. Weeks later, after a successful dinner with investors, Deona came home to find their apartment ransacked. She stood frozen in the doorway, her siblings huddled together, Miguel holding a baseball bat like a weapon. She instantly knew Jane Haynes, William's mother, was behind this. She never liked Deona, called her a gold digger. Jane had offered Deona money to leave. When she refused, Jane threatened her family. Their apartment was ransacked. Then came the attack. Deona's little brother fought off the intruder. The man's last words? Mrs. Hayes sends her regards. Later that night, William found her packing frantically. What are you doing? Leaving, she said, not looking up. You can't just disappear. Watch me. He grabbed her wrist, forcing her to face him. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Ask your mother, she said harshly. That night, Deona made the hardest decision of her life. She disappeared. 1 month later, Deona sat in a doctor's office, staring at the ultrasound screen. 7 weeks, the doctor said gently. Would you like to hear the heartbeat? Deona nodded, tears spilling silently as the soft, rapid sound filled the room. Later that night, she wrote William's name on a piece of paper, then tore it up. You don't get to know, she whispered to the empty room. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Back in New York, William tore his world apart looking for her. He hired private investigators, scoured hospital records, even confronted his mother. What did you say to her? He demanded. Jane only smiled. Whatever it was, it worked. You should be thanking me. He didn't thank her. For the first time in his life, he shouted at her. You may have won this time, he said coldly. But when I find her, I swear you will never come near her again. Later, in his hotel suite, they sat across from each other. My father isn't dying, William said finally. He lied, because he thought if I settled down, I'd stop living like a machine. When he saw how I looked at you, how I loved you, he confessed everything. And then he helped me search for you. I still love you, Deona, he said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. Her heart twisted painfully. It's too late, William. Too much has happened. He crossed the room, knelt in front of her, and took her hands. Please, he whispered. Let me be here this time. Let me love you the way I should have from the start. Back in New York, William confronted his parents. His father, Robert, was horrified at what Jane had done. He filed for divorce and exposed Jane's schemes to the board. She was cut off from the family fortune and faced charges for orchestrating the attacks. He turned all his energy toward protecting Deona and the baby. For the first time, Deona felt safe. Slowly, William won back Deona's trust. He stayed by her side through every appointment, every sleepless night, every moment of fear. When Deona went into labor, William stayed by her side through every contraction. You're doing so well, he whispered, wiping sweat from her brow. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. When Mercy and Grace were born, he wept openly, kissing their tiny foreheads. They're perfect, he whispered, just like their mother. 4 months later, Deona walked down the aisle, this time for love, not for a deal. In front of friends, family, and Robert Hayes, William took her hands. No contracts, no business arrangements, just you, for the rest of my life. 2 years later, the Hayes estate was alive with laughter. Mercy and Grace chased butterflies through the sunlit garden, their giggles carrying on the breeze. Deona stood on the terrace, her hands resting lightly on the railing, drinking in the sight of her daughter's joy. William came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pressing a kiss to her temple. Any regrets? He asked softly. Only that it took us so long to get here, she said with a smile. He turned her gently to face him. Then I guess we'll just have to make up for lost time. Deona took his hand and placed it over her stomach. William's eyes widened. Deona, are you... She nodded, her eyes shining. We're going to need a bigger house. For a moment, William just stared at her, emotion catching in his throat. Then he swept her into his arms and kissed her like it was the first time all over again, their daughters squealing happily in the background. As the sun set over their home, Deona whispered softly as if to herself, So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten. Joel 2:25. Because that's what their love had done. It had restored everything they had lost and given them a future overflowing with hope. What started as deception became the most honest love story of all. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places, even from orange juice spilt on a $1,000 suit. Do you think Deona was right to keep her pregnancy a secret, or should she have told William sooner? Share your thoughts in the comments. We love reading every single one. Every story is a journey, and we're so glad you shared this one with us. If you enjoyed it, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for the next chapter, and share it with someone who loves a good story. Before you go, tell us where in the world you're watching from. We read every comment. And if you want more amazing stories, click the playlist and keep watching. See you next time, and remember, love is free.